I went home just like most type A personalities, and I jumped into an hour-long meditation, or at least attempted to, and failed miserably. Within about 30 seconds, my mind was everywhere, and came out of that very frustrated and convinced that I couldn't meditate. I went back to that same doctor a couple of weeks later and said, yeah, this meditation stuff, it's not working for me. And he asked me what I'd been doing. And he said, well, that's just like going to the gym and jumping under 350 pounds on the bench press after never having done any bench press before, or lining up at the starting line of a marathon without having ever run a mile before. You got to work your way up to that.
Welcome to the Spartan Up podcast with Joe Sena, founder and CEO of Spartan Race.
We are talking about overcoming obstacles. The same way we teach people to get over obstacles on the course, we will teach you here on the Spartan Up podcast to get over obstacles in your mind.
Retired Navy SEAL John Macaskill was desperate when his doctor prescribed meditation. The results were so powerful, he now teaches it. Listen today to hear how to use mindfulness to be a better parent, CEO, or athlete, how to get started, and a way to use mindfulness to impact your diet and nutrition.
Hey, listen, at the end of this episode, you're going to hear Joe ask today's guest some questions about parenting. And guess what? If you've been listening to this show, you know that is a common occurrence. We've been collecting data for years, and now there's a book that contains all these insights. It's called 10 Rules for Resilience, Mental Toughness for Families, and it's written by Joe Sena, along with his co-author, Dr. Laura Pence. Learn to be more resilient and to create a more resilient, grittier, stronger, happier, healthier family. Go to Spartan.com/10 rules. That's the number 10. Spartan.com/10 rules to find out more and pre-order now. This episode of Spartan Up is brought to you by Gone Rogue high-protein chips. Visit Amazon or GoneRogueSnacks.com and use the promo code Spartan25 to get 25% off.
All right, Joe Sena here, founder and CEO of Spartan, a global business that tries to rip you off the couch and get you moving and just shake things up in your life. We got John Macaskill, retired Navy SEAL. If anybody's going to shake you up, it's going to be John. John, thanks for joining us. What's the story? You're into mindfulness. Mindfulness, when I hear that word, my mom was into yoga and meditation growing up, and it was a little too crunchy for me. I wasn't buying into it. And I don't really match mindfulness with Navy SEAL. So I'm explaining how that happened.
Well, yeah, first of all, Joe, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here with you. And yeah, I wouldn't have matched Navy SEAL with mindfulness and meditation even 5 years ago or 6 years ago. When I first got introduced to meditation, it was from a counselor, and it was after my own personal struggles with stress and anxiety and depression, and quite honestly, some fairly dark thoughts about suicide and whether or not I deserve to be here after battling with some survivor guilt after losing some friends on the battlefield. And this counselor kind of reframed counseling in and of itself. He said, welcome to the gym, rather than, hey, what's going on with your mind? Everything he asked, he said, welcome to the gym, kind of reframed it for me, because I was kind of a gym guy, and that helped to resonate counseling and mental health with me, first of all. And that I asked him, what was that whole welcome to the gym thing about? And he said, well, it's to reframe it so that you will see that it's just like going to the gym. It's maintaining your mental health rather than, hey, you have to fix something. It's here so that you can improve your mental health and maintain it, just like the gym. And then after I told him what was going on, he recommended mindfulness and meditation to me. And in my mind, just like you, Joe, meditation to me was kind of granola and crunchy. And it was for those who were hippies or monks. And not that I have anything against hippies or monks. It's just not who I kind of saw myself as. And he changed it, and he's like, well, what if I had something that could improve your physical and mental performance? And what if I had something that could improve your personal and professional life? And I said, okay, yeah, whatever that is, I'll take some of that. And he's like, well, it's the same thing. It's meditation. So I went home just like most type A personalities, and I jumped into an hour-long meditation, or at least attempted to, and failed miserably. Within about 30 seconds, my mind was everywhere, and came out of that very frustrated and convinced that I couldn't meditate. I went back to that same doctor a couple of weeks later and said, yeah, this meditation stuff, it's not working for me. And he asked me what I'd been doing. And he said, well, that's just like going to the gym and jumping under 350 pounds on the bench press after never having done any bench press before, or lining up at the starting line of a marathon without having ever run a mile before. You got to work your way up to that. So I worked my way back up. I went back and just did some simple, 2-minute, 3-minute breath work and started to see the immediate effects of that, but the long lasting effects weren't there. So I'll get in my car and get cut off by some jerk in traffic and immediately get stressed out, or I would get depressed again or whatever. And so I went back to him. I was like, okay, so I've got the meditation down, at least some simple stuff, but the effects aren't long lasting. What can I do? He's like, well, it's just, again, another gym analogy for you knuckle draggers. I'll tell you, you've got to work up to it. And it's like, if you get into meditation, expect an immediate effect. That's like going to the gym and expecting to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger after 2 weeks, or at least how he used to look, right? And that's not how it works. So working up over about 2 months, I started to see those effects lasting longer and actually overlapping between meditations. I started to see my performance improving both at work and at home, in the physical realm and the mental realm. And then the side benefit was some of that depression, the anxiety, and the stress that I had been feeling. It didn't go away, but I was able to process it. Some things that I had buried below after the battlefield, it came to the surface, and I was able to go and work through it with the counselor. And then around the same time, I was looking at what my retirement was going to look like, what I was going to do after retirement. And I was talking to friends about meditation because they had asked me what I was doing, and I started to share it with them. I actually started to do meditation with them, just lead some very simple meditations. And they said, hey, well, maybe this is something you could do for a living. And that's why I'm doing it now. I'm out here sharing what I do, basically telling anyone who will listen about the life-changing and life-saving practices of meditation and mindfulness, because I do truly believe that they saved my life.
I like the idea, John. I like this idea of reframing because, for me, I had an organization on Wall Street, and I remember not wanting to bring in like executive coaches or psychologists because that felt a little too soft. That was definitely a blow to the ego when I thought about that. But then later on, when I saw the TV show Billions, I seem so superficial here, and I saw that guy who plays the role of a customer of mine, funny enough, had a performance coach psychologist, and it was making the organization better. It was reframed. And I was like, oh, you know what? We need some performance coaches. We need some psychologists. So I get it, right? Reframe it. It's like going to the gym, working on your mind. And maybe that's what people need. Are you finding that people are buying into it when you frame it that way, John?
Yeah, absolutely. And not just buying into it when I teach it, but buying into it by getting me in the door, right? I mean, if I came in with long hair and I looked like the hippie that I described before, and I went to corporate America to tell them about meditation and mindfulness, my message I probably wouldn't even get in the door, first of all. But because of my background, and it's not lost on me that in special operations background, that does open some doors. But once the door is open, then I better have a message. I better have some more weight than that. And when I come in, I share my story, and then I share the mindfulness and meditation and how it can improve. I share the science behind it. I mean, a lot of people in corporate America, they want to know figures, numbers, science behind it. I share that. So it's not just this crunchy kind of woo-woo snake oil that I'm presenting to them. There's a reason and there's a story behind it, and that resonates with folks. So absolutely, I see that, one, that it does open the doors, my background, but two, it also resonates with people better. I think in this day and age, they need it and they don't even realize it. And once they start to practice it, they see the profound effects that it has on them, the profound positive effects it has on them personally and professionally. And then, and again, this day and age, both with where we are with technology, the constant rat race that we're in, and coming off of 2020 with the health pandemic that we were in and still are in. People need it. People need this health maintenance. People need this health improvement, mental health, body. I mean, you're with Spartan and getting them up off that couch, helping their bodies out, and that in turn helps their minds. Well, you can help your mind, and that in turn helps your body. So they're kind of inextricably intertwined. It's absolutely landing with people, and they need it.
I've been saying for years, there's a lot of people that are academics, or they think that what we do is a little crazy with the barbed wire and the mud. And I try to explain that the brain lives inside the body. And the healthier you could make the body, the healthier the brain's going to be. And to your point, the healthier you can make the mind, the healthier the body's going to be. And in this world, you're right, of just like being bombarded all day, every day, emails, this, that, right? Like nonstop, especially me, you do need to slow down. So, 40 years after my mom, 45 years after my mom was pushing this, I'm finally coming around to your way of thinking. I meditate at night before I go to bed because I find it puts me to sleep. Bad idea? Good idea?
Yeah, I mean, I think different strokes for different folks. I've seen people fall asleep while I'm teaching meditation, and I don't take any offense to that. I feel that if they fall asleep during the meditation, that's what their body needs in that time. And if meditating at night allows you and sets you up to have a good night's rest, then absolutely more power to you. That's what you should do. I get energy from meditation. So I wake up in the morning, I meditate. It calms my mind, but it gets my body and spirit ready for the day. So I meditate in the morning to set me up, and then I meditate again after lunch just so that I can overcome that after lunch slump. And that gets me through the rest of the day. If I meditate at night, I find that I actually struggle getting to sleep because it gives me energy for some reason.
Who's buying in the most? Is it retired military that you're accessing? Is it corporate folks? Or is it just everybody? The world has woken up to this idea that meditating is good.
Well, it's funny. It's a mix. I started initially when I retired from the military. I started working with veterans, and then I started working with veterans and those who are still in the service. And then since then, corporate America has started asking me to come in and teach what I teach because there is a need everywhere for this.
What do you think the most profound effect has been?
We'll be right back to this interview, but I want to talk to you a little bit about Gone Rogue chips. These are not your ordinary chips. They have less than 2 carbs per ounce. They're made for people like you. They're made from real, fresh chicken, never from frozen, and it's baked to a crunch and seasoned with spices. They have flavors like chicken bacon, barbecue chicken, buffalo-style chicken, teriyaki chicken, and the flavors don't come from bottled smoke flavor. The chicken is smoked in a smokehouse with a blend of hickory hardwoods for an authentic smoky taste. So the Gone Rogue chips, they're light, they're fast, they're great for before or after your workout. They're easy, they're super portable. It's an easy way to get your fix with a crunch of a chip and the protein of a jerky. Visit Amazon or GoneRogueSnacks.com and use the promo code Spartan25 to get 25% off.
What do you think the most profound effect has been?
I've had, again, a mix, but the most profound one, I think, is the ability to focus on one thing at a time. So you just mentioned, your emails, your notifications, your text, all these other things pulling you in a million different directions all day, every day. Well, as you practice meditation, your ability to focus on one thing improves. And what I teach also is that multitasking is a farce. There's no such thing as actually multitasking, or at least you're not able to focus on multiple things at one time. If you're doing more than one thing, you're most likely making a mistake in one of them. Or if you're not making a mistake, you're not being as productive, you're not being as focused, as creative in that one thing as you could be. So what I've heard back is the ability to focus on one thing at one time. And that in turn allows people to get more done. Ironically and kind of counterintuitively, they're able to get more done because they're focused on one thing at one time and do a better job at it. And whether that's at work and working on a PowerPoint, working on building, working on an engineering, or whether it's at home and you're focused on your family, or you're focused on the one thing that's in front of you. There's a mix, but that's what I've heard is coming back after learning to meditate and then practice mindfulness and live mindfulness mindfully through your day. People are amazed at how much they can get done and how focused they are.
What's a minimum amount of time I've got to spend meditating?
Well, to start, what I recommend is doing several meditations throughout the day. And when I say meditation, I mean simple breath work just to get started. So 2, 3, 4 minute meditations, breath works, where you're focusing exclusively on the physical side of breathing. What is happening, noticing the physical sensations of your lungs expanding, noticing the air coming into your nose. As you breathe out, the reverse happening, noticing that. And that brings you into the here and now. You do that 3, 4, 5 times in a day, you get the cumulative effect of a 15-minute meditation. And then once you get used to doing that, then work your way into a longer, more in-depth meditation, a 10-minute, a 15-minute. Ideally, you can do 15, 20 minutes twice a day. That's when you're going to start to see the longer lasting effects. And those longer lasting effects will actually last between and overlap between the meditations. And after about 2 months, that's when you really start to see the positive effects really being part of your life, not just something you feel, but they become a part of your life.
What would somebody do to get started? Somebody's at home, they don't have the ability to bring in a Navy SEAL to their living room and teach them how to meditate. What could they do? Just some simple steps to make the difference.
Well, I ironically, talking about being pulled in a million different directions, I personally recommend downloading several apps on your phone. There's hundreds of meditation apps out there. I started with an app called Insight Timer. I have also used Calm. I've used 10% Happier, Waking Up. There's, again, different strokes for different folks, but there's lots of meditation apps that are out there. And you can start with that. They have very simple 2-minute, 3-minute breathing exercises that you can do in that, and then much longer, much more in-depth meditations that you can do. But just a simple app is what I recommend starting with.
Do you focus on diet at all?
I don't focus so much on diet, but what I talk about is mindful meals. So in my teaching, I teach about the meditation, obviously, and then I talk about living mindfully through your day. So paying attention to the moment. And specifically, the mindful meals, you set a plate in front of you. A lot of the time what we do, because we're being pulled in those million different directions, we scarf down a meal while we're checking email or checking social media or checking text, watching the news. The mindful meal, what I ask people to do is turn all that off. Turn all that off just for 10, 15 minutes and pay attention to the food that is in front of you and think about how that food got from where it started to your plate. And then notice the colors on your plate. Notice the smells that you're smelling. Actually pay attention to the meal and then have a sense of gratitude for that meal. And then when you eat it, pay attention to what you're feeling, both physically, what you're feeling, actually noticing the food getting into you, but then also your emotions. Why were you eating? Were you eating because you were emotional? Were you eating because you were bored? Were you eating because you were sad? Or were you eating because you needed to feed yourself? And if it's one of those other ones, maybe adjust why you were eating, or maybe adjust what you're doing to address that boredom, to address that sadness, to address that emotional eating. And so, I don't so much get into the nutrition behind it, but that aspect of the diet is just paying attention to why you're eating and what you're eating.
And I bet you could apply that same methodology to everything you do. The ice cold shower you take in the morning, the workout, whatever, right? Like apply that mindfulness to all those things so that it's just more purposeful.
Absolutely. And I love the ice cold shower in the morning. That gets me charged and ready for the day. And even, there's metacognition, like thinking about your thoughts as you're in the shower, in that cold shower. A lot of the time when you jump in and you start on the cold, you start to think, this is painful. Why am I so weak? Why am I so soft? But that in and of itself is a negative loop, and paying attention to that and then saying, you know what? I'm here, I'm in the cold shower, or I'm here, I'm in the gym, I'm getting it done, and starting that positive psychology. That's a great way to really start your day or get your day done, is on that positive track.
Like if I'm on the starting line of a race, I'm trying to wake up and do a hard workout. I'm running the business, trying to come up with payroll for the end of the week, and I got like the whole weight of the world on my shoulders. What could I do very quickly to just calm down?
Yeah, a simple breathing exercise can be done just about any time, anywhere. That can really quite literally tap into the parasympathetic nervous system. That's the rest and digest nervous system, to calm you down, because that payroll or that starting line, we're perceiving that as a threat. So our body is getting in the defensive mode and we're getting stressed out. We're kind of living in this perpetual stress or perpetual defense mode. When you do a simple breathing drill, such as a box breathing drill, so breathe in for 4, hold it for 4, breathe out for 4, hold it for 4, and you do that 4 or 5 times, that activates the vagus nerve, which activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which calms us down. So brings us back down, brings our heart rate down, brings everything back down. And that helps us to calm us in a situation, just like you mentioned.
I know as a parent, I lose my mind with the kids. I want to choke them sometimes. Don't tell social services. What could we do to calm down as parents, but also get our kids to calm down when they're acting a little nuts?
Yeah, great question. And that's one that's near and dear to my heart. I've got a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 9-week-old. And, mindfulness is definitely coming into play as a father, as a parent. There's times when you get done with the workday and you just want 15 minutes and you get done, and the first thing you have is a crying baby or a kid that's hurt or something. The same things that you mentioned before, being at the starting line or having payroll or having any stressor out there, even the children in our lives and what they have going on, those can be perceived by our body as threats. So the same thing, you can just do a breathing exercise, and that can bring you into the here and now as you pay attention to the physical sensation of breathing. That can bring you into the here and now. And then you can also just take in, and you know what? This is right now in the present moment, this is what's happening. And this is not that bad. And just breathing and realizing that whatever the kids have going on, it's just part of life. Diaper changing, babies crying, you maybe with older kids bring in homework or, dating or whatever. It's just part of life. And if you tune into the moment, in that very moment, is everything that bad? Most likely not. And then as far as the children themselves, you can teach them those same breathing drills. So I've got my 4-year-old doing breathing drills. We have a time in corner rather than a time out corner, where if she gets frustrated or if she gets upset, we bring her to the time in corner and we sit with her. And it has these different expressions on the wall, faces, and it says sad, happy, whatever. And we say, okay, what are you feeling right now? And we talk through that and then allow her the time to decompress and just be. And that is doing 2 things. 1, it's allowing her to calm down. And 2, it's teaching her compassion and that emotional intelligence, which is so important as leaders in society. It's always been important, but we're only now catching on to it. So those are some things you can do as a parent for yourself and for your children.
I love it. Thanks for joining the Spartan tribe here. How do people find you?
I'm mostly prolific on LinkedIn. That's where I spend most of my social media time. Or you can get my website is macaskillconsulting.com.
Awesome. All right, you're the man. I'm gonna be more mindful tomorrow in my ice cold shower. I just bought one of these scrub brushes that are all steel bristles. So I'll be very focused.
There you go, Joe. Nice.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Spartan Up Podcast. Spartan Up is your partner in resilience for mind, body, and spirit. We're here 3 days every week. Do you know someone who needs a little nudge? Maybe they could use some motivation, tactics to be stronger, healthier, happier, more successful. Tell them about our show. And if you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment. We want to know who's watching and who's listening. Thanks. See you next time. This episode of Spartan Up is brought to you by Gone Rogue High Protein Chips. Visit Amazon or GoneRogueSnacks.com and use the promo code Spartan25 to get 25% off.